Hello everybody, it's Niklas and welcome to this new video on Spline, and in this video we are going to see how to work with materials. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel if you like the content. First link on the description, the complete course Spline is available, so if you want to learn this software starting from scratch with a course structure, it will be on the first link on the description. You will see the models, the sessions of the course, what you will be able to learn. It is a complete course, a lot of hours of training content to perfectly master Spline 3D for different type of things like 3D modelings, but not only for this type of thing, also to create different type of presentation, different type of interaction, different type of transition. You can do a lot of things with this software. Second link on the description, the website in link with this YouTube channel. You can learn software with this YouTube channel, have basicals, and second link on the description, it is like an online school and you have a lot of graphic courses available. So let's just start with Spline 3D to how to add materials. I'm going to turn a little bit on my view, and when I go on this area, you have the possibility to add different type of object. And I will take as an example, I will take, for example, a sphere. I will select the sphere here, and I will press Shift to keep the proportion of my sphere, and I will start to create a sphere just here. I will move a little bit my sphere on this area, and I would like to add the materials. So to add the materials, you select your object, you go on the right, and when you go on the right, you can see the material panels located here. By default, you have two things. You have a lighting and you have a color. So concretely, if you want just to change the color, you click on color here. You have this color wheel and you can define the color that you want. For example, I can define this color. And you can also define the value of the lighting. So you can dragging and moving or tap directly the value that you want for the lighting. You can just deactivate the view of one of these elements, this one, or for example, this one, of this line. So these material panels work like a layer panel. So concretely, you can add a different element, different layers, and the layers on the top will be on like on the foreground and on the bottom like on the backgrounds. Here, for example, we have a color. You can click here and you can switch to what you want. So it means for these layers, I can switch for gradient, for example. And when I click on this area, I can define the options of the gradient, what type of gradient I want to have. As you can see, I have different type of gradient. If I select something like maybe radial in this case, I have the possibility to click and to define first color here. So maybe I can define this one. And here I can select the second color, and maybe I can define something like this one. And as you can see, I created a gradient with these two colors as a base. And I can work with the angle, so I can turn with the angles here. I have also the offset value or against this morph value. And the fact is, you can create a base. The base can be generally a color or a gradient. And you can add more elements. So it means you can add more line. When I click here on these options, you can switch and add more information. What information I can add? I can add something interesting like, for example, matcape. So I will use matcape here. And when I go on these options, I will click on this area. And on this area, you can define what type of matcape you want to add because you have different type of options. So for example, I could select maybe something like this, but a matte effect. And after, if I go out, you have the options to decrease the transparency. So you can just tap something, or you can just dragging and moving. Sometimes it's not every time to dragging and moving, or you can just tap something here, like for example, 40. And as you can see, you have an interesting render here. But you can also change if you increase to 100, you can change, you have blend mode here, and you can switch for multiply, screen, and then overlay. So for example, in this case, why not to use overlay, and I can decrease a little bit the transparency here, the opacity of these material layers, and I can put something like maybe 60, and I will obtain this render. And the aim is this, you can add more information, but it can be something simple, only one color, one lighting, or one gradient, one lighting, but you can add more options here. And if I go on this area, it can be something more. If I want to add depth, I can select depth here, and I will have the options on this area. And on this area, on the options, you have the origin, and you can switch for a color ramp, just like that. You can adjust the depth, and you can also define a color as well for the depth, just like this. So you can define a color, but I can switch also, keep, for example, this type of color. And if I just come back to the depth value here, we can just adjust with like blend mode. So it means you can, here we can change, and we can select, for example, something like multiply, screen, or overlay one more time. Maybe I can use overlay, and I will be able to decrease this value. So for example, I can type something like 40. And you can see the difference every time just clicking here. So this is the end. You can add multiple elements together, and you can add more elements if you need. You can have almost something interesting, like, for example, you have the tone feature, rainbow features. We can use also something like, for example, Fresnels here, and you can add a reflect with a specific colors. On this area, you can define a color, you can define a scale value. And if I just go outside here, I think we can reduce and put just a little bit, maybe Fresnel, just like that. I think I can type something like just only maybe 20. And if I turn around, I will obtain this render. So that's it. This is how you can process. You can add multiple layers together, and you go on this area, you select what you want to have. Don't forget that you have different things, like you can add a patterns also as well. And here, because it is on the foreground, it will replace, and you can select what type of patterns you want to have. You have different type of options. I could also maybe select something like, for example, a checkerboard or anything like this. You can define, for example, a first color. You can define a second color, and you will have multiple type of options. So this is how we can process. I'm just going to remove this one, and I will click here. I will set the environment just on the back. I will define some background color, like maybe this one. And I will also, yes, just like that. So if I click here, you can see the sphere appearing with this one. I'm going to move my sphere, just remove the sphere. And when you go access to the library, you can have different options. So if, for example, you go on template, and on template, I define something like cosmetic, and I select, for example, the pump bottles. I can double click on the pump bottles. The pump bottles will appear on this area, just like this. And let's take a look about what they put on the material. Let's just take a look. So here we have a group, so group cosmetic, and inside we have different elements. And if I click on my group, I can see the material for the bottles, so it means this part, and the material for the cap, so it means this part. So if I click on the bottle here, what they have created, as you can see, they have created color, lighting, matte cap, deep, Fresnel, and matte cap. And if I zoom a little bit, I can adjust. So for example, this one, this is the last matte cap, and they selected this one. So I can adjust, and as you can see, we can make some little transformation. You can see the difference here. So it means if I want to change the color, I can change. I can click here, I can change the color, I can go on this option color, and if I'm using this one is a default color, but you can also select another one. So I can select another one. Why this blue color is not pretty good? For a simple reason that probably in the matte cap here, yes, I have something like this. So if I define another type of matte cap, like maybe this one, I can switch to this area, for example. But I have also this matte cap, and it is same. Maybe I can switch for blue as well. And if I switch for this blue matte cap, the render will be pretty different. So you can adjust at your convenience also pre-existing models, and you can adjust at your convenience. Here I have Fresnels. I have also the depth on this area, so you can adjust the different options. We have also the matte cap options here, and I can decrease or increase. You can also remove line also if you need. And we have also the lighting value. You can also adjust the lighting value clicking here, and when you click here, you can, for example, adjust the shininess as well. So definitely it's convenient to use, very convenient tool to use. And this one is for the bottles. But so this one is for the bottles, but don't forget that if you have sometimes something very simple, so if you click on the cap, you only have a color and a lighting. So you can also change the color of the top, just like that. So this is the type of things that we can do. So it's okay for that. We are going to stop here. If you like this video, subscribe to this YouTube channels. First link on the description, the complete course Spline 3D is available. So if you want to learn this software, starting from scratch with the course structure, it will be on the first link on the description. You will see the models, session of the course, what you will be able to learn. It is a complete course, different hours to perfectly master Spline 3D to create different models for 3D modeling, but also for 3D presentation, because you can do a lot of things. You can create different type of interaction, you can create different type of transition, different type of presentation in 3D modeling. Second link on the description, the website in link with this YouTube channel. You can discover software on this YouTube channel. And second link on the description, it is like an online school with all the graphic courses available. You can learn any graphic software. For next video, see you. Ciao, ciao.